All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kente Corner, your favorite casual Hoya basketball podcast. Obviously, we are also, if you're watching this, you know that we are on with at MTC with Mook, the live stream. The man to my, I guess it's my left, but in the thing, it's to my right, Marcus Washington. Real quick, Georgetown dropped its final non-conference game of the season, 80-73 to Texas Christian. I keep saying that instead of TCU. Always an eventful game for Georgetown. We found out, I wasn't even here yet. I see you tweeting, and Georgetown put out an announcement. Dante Harris, who averages about 30 minutes a game, was out. He was in a walking boot. He had been injured against Syracuse, re-injured it this week. And Georgetown, again, was short-handed-ish, you could say, in losing. Aminu Muhammad, again, showed why he's popping up on NBA draft mock 2022. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's a thing. So he's got 21 points, 11 rebounds, his fifth double-double in 11 college games. Caden Rice and Jalen Billingsley were back. They were missing last game with an illness that was not COVID. Rice had 14, Carey had 12. Those were the three guys in double figures. TCU just seemed like they had a different level of toughness. Long-time Pitt coach was back in an arena that he coached at so many times. He made reference to it post-game. TCU has been on a bit of a roll. Charles O'Bannon, I'm going to not lie, I did not know he was on their roster. He had all of his points in the first half. He finished with 15. Mike Miles had 20, and TCU is now 9-1, and they've beaten a lot of big conference teams. All that stuff's out of the way. We think we think Dante Harris is going to be back next game. They're hopeful for, assuming there is a next game. There's been a lot of COVID-related cancellations in the Big East. Marcus, what do you think was the big takeaway from today's game? Oh, and it wouldn't be fair for me to bring up, even though I had some technical difficulties post-game. Georgetown came out really fast. Aminu Muhammad came. They've sort of gotten in a rhythm here of not bringing out players after a loss, which I think is silly. So I think it's really great that they got rid of that. So, great job for Georgetown for doing that. They came out quick. And, okay, now we can start. Just want to get all the facts out there real quick. What do you think?
Well, I thought that Georgetown, you don't want to say that there's any sort of moral victories, but I think that this one actually could classify as one. It's hard to play Division I P5 team when you don't have an experienced primary ball handler. And Georgetown came into today not only with one that was relatively inexperienced in Tyler Beard, but also they only had one. It was one primary ball handler and a bunch of secondaries. And we talked about it after the last game that, playing two primary ball handlers at the same time is really, really catching fire on all levels, high school, college, whatever the case may be. Georgetown wasn't able to do that today, and I thought that Tyler Beard struggled. He had 3 turnovers in under 9 minutes to start the game off. But I will give Georgetown this. They made TCU go to their weakness, which was shooting the three-pointer. TCU was a 28% three-point shooting team coming into this game. They made 11 threes. A guy who shoots our ball, who shoots 18% from the three-point line coming to this game, makes 3 out of 4.
How much do you think that is TCU practicing and getting better, like Jamie Dixon just said? And for as bad as TCU is shooting the ball from 3, Georgetown's pretty bad defending it.
Yeah, they are pretty bad defending it. And it's one of those things. Now, I'm not in practice, but I don't know if the game plan was at the beginning of the game to overhelp and almost dare them or invite them to take the three-pointer. Not there. I don't know if that was the way they wanted to start off the game. I wouldn't have blamed them. You might not want them to have some of the open looks that they had, but again, I think that forcing them to take the 3, and didn't we see it? Season high 11 made threes. I think they had a season high in 3-point attempts.
In percentage, 42%. Their high had been 36 or something like that. I think in the game that they made against Southern Miss, which was over a month ago. Now let's talk to you, the coach, real quick. Again, Ewing basically said the same thing he always says when we ask about three-pointers, which is we didn't do a good enough job closing out. Did you think it was still they were helping too far off? Like what is the remedy? Because it seems like whether he has a different answer, he's not going to tell us, right? He's always going to say this. So what did you see from the 3 points today?
Rule of thumb, and this is where you could criticize how Georgetown played it. rule of thumb is if I'm on weak side and the ball is above the free throw line, I'm usually rim line +1, meaning +1 towards my man.
Yeah.
Sometimes Georgetown, when the ball is that far up, they are on the rim line. At times, I've seen some of their guys even past the rim line. So if it does kick to the other side, or you break down and get a paint touch, it is hard to recover out. And that's when you see those really, really wide open threes by their opponents. So part of it is the discipline of knowing where to be in relation to where the ball is.
So let me see if you think this is related at all. So at halftime, I tweeted something about how, Caden Rice had missed last game, but in the 2 games before that, he had gone 10 for 12 from 3, and I think it was 5 for 15 against Syracuse. So he had been, um, 15 for 27. First half, he was 1 for 3 or 1 for 4. He needed to get back in the game. He did. Caden Rice, did I say Taylor? I meant Caden Rice. So he finished 4 for 11. He made 3. He had a little bit of a run there. I was a little surprised at the end after Aminu Muhammad had his, oh shoot, he might be a pro next year move where he split 2 defenders, got to the rim. He didn't slam it, but he did finish and he got fouled. Okay, they got to within 66-64 and they went small. And I was thinking that's a good thing because I'm a fan of the small ball. The small ball didn't work, and it was a small ball that was with Billingsley. So do we think that Caden wasn't really part of a lot of that after the timeout? They went on a quick 7-0 run, they called timeout, and Holloway was on the court. I've just said a lot of things I know, but I'm trying to connect. Do you think the dots are connected at all between Caden Rice's 3-point defense and the lineup they went at the end? Because I'm not going to lie, it was a pretty big spot to put Billingsley in, who hasn't been playing a lot and missed the last game with an illness, and the game got away from him. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, but I just wonder if there's a way to connect those dots. Do you see it at all?
And maybe it was that Caden Rice was struggling a little bit defensively. Personally, I would have kept him in. Because my thing was, if TCU was going to beat me on this day from the 3-point line, I was going to probably accept the fact that they were going to beat me from the 3-point line. And so I probably would have stuck with him even if he was struggling defensively. Billingsley did have the one nice little shot, and then he had one short one that kind of just didn't want to stay down.
The rare 2-point jumper.
Yeah.
We just don't see those anywhere.
No. Yeah, and he made it. And it was a critical stretch to go that way, and it did get away from Georgetown when TCU got some runouts there. And I give TCU's guys a lot of credit. We're in an era where a lot of people like to shoot 3-pointers in transition, and I kind of coach that way. I love the 3-point transition, but there are times where you should have players attack the retreat. And every time TCU got on that fast break when they were making that run, they attacked Georgetown's retreat, and that's why they ended up with a bunch of layups. Was no, hey, let me see if I pull up for a 3 or trying to be cutesy. They just went full bore at the retreat guys. So give TCU the credit. I thought that Georgetown in spots played well, and that's 7 for 8 made shots by TCU ended up being the difference in the game because outside of that spot, Georgetown defensively really was not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, so you can go up and down the box score, and so much of it was close. I mean, turnovers were pretty close, points in the paint, second chance point, fast break, bench. There's nowhere really to turn to find the one weak spot. Sometimes you watch a game and in your head you know how it's going, and then you look at the box score and it doesn't really tell it. I thought TCU was just way more physical than them. Yeah. And then you look in free throws, they took 16, Georgetown took 12. So in my head, it's like, well, TCU, JB Dixon bullied them a little bit. That really doesn't show up in the box score.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up because this goes back to a tweet that I had earlier in this game. I was talking about the free throw attempts, just what you were talking about, and my big thing was this. Sometimes we call reputation, right? I felt like TCU and Georgetown was a game that was allowed to be physical because of Jamie Dixon's reputation, that it wasn't going to be a whistle fest. And if Georgetown was playing another opponent, I was openly wondering, would there have been more whistles in the game? But we know Jamie Dixon. We know the style of play he has. And when you have veteran referees, maybe you say, that's not a foul. That's just kind of how we play. And we're not going to call this tight and so on and so forth. And I thought there was a lot of that today. And I'm sure there's a lot of that in a lot of Jamie Dixon games where you don't necessarily blow whistles that maybe you would blow if they were playing, a team like Duke or a team like that.
So it is the end of the non-conference. It's hard to compare last season to this. So basically what I'm trying to do here. So Georgetown's 6-5. Last year, obviously, COVID, the late start, fewer games. Let's just come back to that. So 2 years ago, at the end of the non-conference, despite all of the transfers and all that stuff, Georgetown was 10-3 heading into Big East play. The 2018-19 season, Georgetown was 10-3 as well. The first year, as we know, famously really weak scheduling. Georgetown was they were 10-1. So going to the Big East, you're kind of, I mean, obviously they could have a crazy good record, but you're kind of in a spot again where at Georgetown, you're kind of, it's almost like you're in a one bid league and that like you have to win the Big East tournament to get there. And I know like we're looking really far ahead and there's so many things that I'm glossing over, but what's your assessment of where they are? 6-5, is that kind of line up to where you had them? Let's just start with that.
Yeah, it's probably where I thought they would be. Maybe they'd have one more loss. Maybe they would have one more win. I really thought that when they went out to California, that had to be a split situation. I can understand losing one, but you can't lose both. And you're right. You put yourself behind the eight ball. You really don't have a quality non-conference win. I mean, you could say Syracuse, but not really a big-time non-conference win. And your resume looks different if you have wins in the non-conference over Syracuse, San Diego State, and TCU. Now, it might not blow away the world, but you have a resume where you have these solid wins. So you're right. You're asking your team to be very, 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 very good during the conference season. And I don't know whether this team can be consistent enough where they can be up to that level. But it's like you said, time will tell. Health will have a lot to do with it. You mentioned it briefly a little earlier, man, with the Big East, and we're seeing so many cancellations. Will Georgetown get 2 or 3 wins off of forfeits? I mean, we don't know.
So the thing about that is they count as wins in the Big East, but they don't count as wins for the NCAA. So it's really like an administrative thing for scheduling.
Right.
And it hurts teams all over the place. It hurts teams like Georgetown that need quality wins. Like let's say Villanova has to forfeit 2 games in the Big East. That wouldn't help Georgetown at all.
No.
You need the opportunity to get those great wins, right? Or whoever, Seton Hall, Xavier, the teams that we think are going to be good in the Big East and the teams that are good right now. I think when you look back at this, I didn't have them at 6-5 in the league for sure. Like losing to Dartmouth was just a game you couldn't lose. You couldn't really lose any of those games. Looking at it, you were like, okay, Siena, that's usually a team that's decent. They're not. So you couldn't pick up a loss there. Like you said, you had to go to the Wood and win too, unless somehow that you lost to San Diego State, and then USC got upset, and then even losing to them, you'd be like, well, at least we got a quality loss if that's the thing you want to talk about. And then between South Carolina, Syracuse, and TCU, you kind of needed to go 2-1,
right?
Because none of those teams are really that great,
right?
So I think their best case scenario that you're thinking, okay, we could still really legitimately fight for an at-large at something like 12-8 in the league, is you kind of needed to come out of this 8-3 without a bad loss. They're 6-5 and they have a bad loss.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of work to do. We don't know what they're going to look like when Iko Efe gets back. Hopefully you get Dante Harris back. Hopefully you don't have any more, illnesses or COVID-related illnesses. Maybe Kobe Clark returns. What an interesting career he's had. And I say career in parentheses really a little bit because he came out first game, 10 rebounds. And he's played, I don't know, maybe since then, maybe less than 100 minutes.
Right.
But he's one of your few sophomores that was around last year. So I don't know how much has really changed, from the first loss, right? You lose to Dartmouth. And I think for me, the expectations are like, wow, anything could happen.
Right.
And, maybe from starting 0-1 to finish 6-5, I thought they maybe had another bad loss sitting out there. They don't have any. St. Joe's a bad loss, maybe, right? We'll see what happens in the A10. But they didn't pick up a loss to like American or Longwood or UMBC or Howard. They're not; those teams really aren't that bad when you think about what Georgetown's weaknesses are, which are if you can't defend the 3, you can lose to anyone.
This is not the era to have problems defending the 3 as well as teams shoot it and as well as kids come out of high school shooting it.
You want to talk about anything happy for a second? Do you have any interesting Christmas plans? Don't you usually go to New York, or is that Thanksgiving?
We go at Thanksgiving. We every now and again go at Christmas. This is one of the Christmases we are going.
Nice.
So when we go at Christmas, because the Knicks are usually at home on Christmas Day. We'll be going to Knicks Hawks Christmas Day.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so noon is the first game in the NBA schedule. So no, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, my son is very much looking forward to it, seeing Trae Young. So yeah,
that's good. Yeah, no, we don't. We're just staying around here. Georgetown is not staying around here. Their next two games are going to be at Providence and at Creighton. Fingers crossed. They don't come back here till New Year's Day, which might be a hard game to make.
Yeah, I'm old, so I'll probably be home, so I'll be able to make it at noon. But oh no, I can totally understand. I would like to see what the crowd's going to be.
New Year's Eve is my birthday.
Oh wow!
And not that you can. I mean, when you have kids, every day is their birthday. Basically, they don't want to hear it or understand it. But I mean, you think, oh, you have Father's Day, Mother's Day. When's Kids Day? Literally every day is Kids Day. So I'm not trying to pretend on New Year's Eve I'm going to go out and just get live my best life. But that might be a difficult game to make. Do you have any predictions when they make it back here? They're at Providence, at Creighton. I'll say real quick, it's going to be hard to get a win.
Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be tough to get a split. Providence will come out there, and you're going to get Cooley and his version of flex offense, and it's going to be a lot of flex cuts and a lot of screening. And Georgetown's going to have to communicate a little bit better on how they defend ball screens away, because in the flex you always have that weak side flex screen coming across, and that's going to be communication. It's going to be where you're on the floor, and it goes back to the discipline stuff of where you are in relation to where the ball is. And Georgetown's going to have to be they're going to just have to be cognizant of that every single possession. Creighton, yeah, that's going to be hard.
Yeah, a lot of people sort of had Creighton, maybe not as good as they are right now.
Right. But
I can't believe their coach is still there. That's a different topic.
Yes.
What they did to Villanova last night, I didn't see it, but I couldn't believe that score. Maybe it's more about Villanova than Creighton, that score is, because we saw them get completely just shut down by the defending national champs. But yeah, what Creighton has done, all the guys that they lost, and they're sitting there at 9-3. Ken Palm has got them at 49. It'd be Georgetown's best win. Of course, Providence would also be Georgetown's best win. And it sounds, maybe it's just my age and mellowing, but at this point it's just like, I just hope the games happen. We found out Creighton has 10 days off to get ready for Georgetown. I don't think they need 10 days to focus on Georgetown. Okay, but they do have it. Yeah. Okay, and Seton Hall and St. John's aren't playing. I mean, I know that you're a big national college basketball fan. I don't really follow a lot anymore. But Georgetown's bad. I kind of shrink a little bit in my interest of everything. If Georgetown had a little number by there, they were 18 or 25, I start caring about the country, because then those results affect Georgetown a little bit. But I mean, I think North Carolina and Kentucky were just searching for opponents. Patino's out there, who I love, is tweeting to try and find opponents. So I just hope the games happen.
Yeah. Well, I do too, and yeah, it is disconcerting when you see so many games being canceled. We know why and the safety of it all, but I do hope the games happen. And yeah, with me, I will fill in when Georgetown's not playing. But I think Georgetown's one of these teams that they have to play to get better. Some teams, yes, they need a break. They need to get healthy. They need to do this game planning, yada, yada, yada. I think for Georgetown, they are so young in so many spots. I really do think that they just need to play. They need to play. They need to get on-court experience. That would help this particular program.
So, real quick, I know that we've raved about, Tyler Beard and Dante Harris. I like the idea of them playing together. Tyler, I think, had over 20 points the other day. Today, in 30 minutes, he was 1 for 3. 3 points, 5 assists, 4 turnovers. How much do you think it was a struggle for him? I mean, obviously TCU is a step up from Howard, but not having Dante there to play off of and to know that it just might have been too much for a freshman to handle today.
Yeah, and he doesn't have the experience coming into today. The most minutes he had played was against Howard. And Jamie Dixon isn't stupid. He knew that there was really no other primary ball handler. So as an inexperienced ball handler, I thought that he did very good jobs of making Tyler Beard make decisions whenever you wanted to put him in screening role. And anytime he came and brought the ball up the sideline, they had great ball pressure on him. A couple times it looked like they were going to run a second guy, and he just never got into a groove because of that, which is why he needed Harris there. It's a different Tyler Beard as Harris is there, because yes, it is a step up in competition, but now you are a primary ball handler that's kind of secondary. Plus, the pace is probably a little bit faster. Harris can create some things, which gets me more space. Now I'm operating in space as opposed to allowing TCU to shrink up the space that I'm allowed to operate in because I have to be the single primary ball handler. So it was going to be more difficult today, but it became, uber more difficult when Harris was out.
And the game does change a little bit too because those, I don't know, 12 or so shots that Rice got up weren't there the other night, right?
Right.
So, yeah, Caden went 5 for 13. He didn't play. So you can't expect Tyler to maybe have that kind of effect. Of course,
right.
Dante's not shy. He gets up a bunch of shots.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned he had an Iverson-like line that just where the efficiency of, field goal attempts to points wasn't really there. But just a completely different game. And, I was complaining, but not complaining. But before I got here, I'm like, see, that's why I need to leave earlier. There's always something that happens. When I saw your tweet, I couldn't believe. Say Dante Harris is in a walkie boot. I said, I can't believe I am not there yet. The day was getting away. I thought I had a little bit of a break because it was at 2, not noon. And I just kind of chilled for a second after coaching 5-year-olds playing basketball. Coaching, I would say, very loose term. Okay, and Patrick says next man up, and that's great. I'm sure you say it. Our coaches say it, but it's not a real thing.
It's not.
If I get hurt and you have to come in, we do different things.
Right.
So it's just man, besides being healthy, besides the non-COVID or the COVID cancellations, you hope that he just has everyone available because the team isn't super talented, we don't think, anyway. And then every game, it's it's just you sort of it's like a random number generator. Who's out today?
Right. So, the next man up thing is fake anyway. And I'll tell you how coaches, it is fake. Because when somebody gets hurt, what coaches do is within their natural action, they just put emphasis on something else within the action they already run to help mitigate who's out more than just saying, hey, well, you should be on the equal par to the guy who is just who is not available. And we all know, especially at this level, very seldom do you have someone equal par. And I'm not blaming this, but in today's basketball, when you have the transfer portal, if you and I were close and I sat there for a year, there's a good chance that maybe I'm not even there that second year for if you got hurt to plug me in.
Well, it's kind of like Sibley's gone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there you go. That's a good example.
Last year, Colin Holloway's getting all those minutes. There weren't many minutes available.
Right.
But it was that's interesting. Holloway's getting them, not Sibley.
Right.
Sibley's everyone's excited about. He had the 4-star by his name, his top 100. Now he's playing for UTEP. I think he's starting. I haven't been tracking him really. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's so many things to just, make sure everyone stays. Now everyone's super worried about, Muhammad leaving. Yeah. You got people close to him tweeting out mock drafts every 5 seconds. And,
Nothing is real. Nothing is real until you get the NBA report back. I would recommend and assume that when it comes to that time, he will put his name in to get the report. And
yeah, absolutely. And he should.
Yeah. And the report, and that's the one great thing, and I'm not going to get off on a tangent about the about the NCAA getting away or being forced to get away for how they did their work in the past. Knowledge is king. We always talk about kids making mistakes, but there were hurdles there that would not allow you to get the necessary information. Kids are getting the necessary information. In fact, I was talking earlier before you got here with someone else. 15 years ago, Caleb Love leaves North Carolina after his freshman year, not because he had this great freshman year, it's because, I was going to be a one and done. I'm a one and done. I'm done. But now in the era where he got that information from the NBA, and now it's oh no, I'm not going to be a one and done. Because they're telling me, these are the guys who are doing the hiring process, and they're telling me, young man, you need to stay where you are.
Where I was not a one and done today is at pregame meal. The wings were good, man.
I was a one and done. I was trying to be good.
I used to go out more, we don't really do anything. And even if it's just, for a happy hour or something, I love wings.
Yes.
And man, I almost never carry out. I just don't get wings. That's more of a, you meet up after work or something, or, to watch a game, and or after I play soccer or basketball or something, I go out for a second. So wings are just, it's a whole, not in my junk food, I'm missing it. And to walk into those was just this is real.
It was hard for me, but I said, I'm going to have 4 wings. And
I had more than 4 wings.
And that was it. And then I had my 4 wings. And then literally I came and sat out here because I knew if I stayed back there, I would not be telling you right now that I only had 4 wings.
Well, I talked to Ron, who I've known for a long time of Hoya Report over at Rivals. Everyone should subscribe, and hopefully we'll get him on the podcast sometime. But it was getting close to tip. They have the clock in there. They have the game clock in there. I said, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna get more wings. Like, I already know Dante Harris is gonna walk in, but there's something else I need to see out there. So like, you don't wear a Christmas shirt like this the last home game before Christmas and not treat yourself. Okay.
Right. Well, I need to get a few pounds off, so I was trying to be good.
You have plenty of time. Plenty of time for that. Next year, right? 2022.
Gotcha.
Plenty of time for that. Well, it's been really fun to do these on the video. Thanks, Marcus, for hooking it up at MTC with Mook, and you can watch this. You can go to his Twitter feed, and it'll be archived. It'll be sitting there. If you're not watching live, you can go ahead and look at there. Also, I'm going to put it on Kente Corner before I leave the arena, which is I'm bad at this. It's the reverse, which is behind us. The baskets are down. I can make a lot of shots on that. And I want to wish everyone a happy holidays from Kente Corner.
Yep.
All right, cool.